So what were the Mood platform objectives in the framework of the Mood project? Was mainly to address challenges posed by global environmental and climate changes, etc. Through conducting risk assessment, well, enabling risk assessments and risk monitoring, early detection if possible, a trend analysis, what's happened in the past, what's happening now, what's going to happen in future, and even further, what may be the impact of climate change. So it was decided when writing the project, and we were very much involved in this process, which was quite many years ago, that we would go develop an epidemiological platform where all these tools developed by different partners during the project could be centered. And that was really novel when we wrote it. In the meantime, there have been other examples. We were going to establish a non-profit association to make sure that the platform, once the project finished, could live further actively. And so therefore, that was a very original way to achieve sustainability. And we actually pretty close to reaching that ambitious goal. We have 7 founding members, and it took a while to, it's a combination of public institutes and private companies. All are partners of the Mood project, and it took a while to get all these legal departments on the same wavelength. But we're now pretty close to it, and we're going to sign before the end of the year, hopefully. So what is the purpose of this non-profit association? Well, the main purpose is to provide an independent online platform to support researchers and decision makers involved in spatial epidemiology in a One Health context. It's not only veterinarian, also public. And the platform, which is aims to increase the operational abilities of epidemic intelligence and surveillance teams. So actually, it's bringing the tools to the people who need the tools. That can be either researchers or decision makers. And it has definitely a non-profit goal in the sense that it is completely open for non-profit use. And actually, the association is a non-profit association, which means we can give income. I mean, the association as a legal partner can become a member in a project, for instance, as a partner, like CIRAT is a partner in a project, or like any of your institutions can be partner of a project. But association is not a difference with a profitable company is that once you get money in, you make profit, you can pay. With that profit, you can pay your dividends to your owners. There are no owners of the platforms, and there are no dividends. Whatever money gets in, stays in, and must be used for achieving the objectives of the association. It goes even that far. If one day we decide to stop the association, and there is still assets, there's still money in the association, it needs to be given to another association which has similar goals. So that's how this kind of non-profit, international non-profit associations work. So it is not only for actually creating sustainability, but also to create a legal context in which we can work and in which we can get resources and reinvest those resources in further developing the platform and making it better and broader. So the objectives are to promote, maintain, and further develop the platform. So as an association, we want to definitely promote, maintain, and develop the platform, integrate new epidemiological spatial outputs, tools, and services developed by us as a group, but also eventually from other outputs. If tomorrow there is a really interesting paper with a really interesting spatial model coming out, we can contact that team and say, would you be interested to get your model into the platform? And then, of course, it's their decision, yes or no. And then we can work further and provide, of course, capacity building on how to use these kind of tools. So we want to become the partner of choice in epidemiological R&D projects, which means that as a research institute, you shouldn't bother anymore about getting your models or your model outputs user-friendly. I mean, the association offers these kind of services in future projects to do that. So the Mood platform was developed in co-creation. Elena showed this really nice slide this morning and kind of insisted on the fact of co-creation within the Mood project. And of course, the platform was developed in the same kind of spirit. This is the architecture. This is what Tom is doing. Actually, at the moment, I'm pretty sure he's not busy with this. So the platform has a core. In that core, we manage disease data and we manage covariate data. Marcus is going to have a talk tomorrow about covariate data in detail. And we can, in the platform, visualize and query. And I'll give you some examples of how we do that with the platform during my talk. But then there are a series of other tools which are linked to the platform. I give 3 examples here. PaddyWeb, a very important tool for event-based epidemiological work developed by CIRAD. There is GeoNetwork, which is actually a large database which contains all these data and information about the data. And there is a tool, ED, which allows you to visualize temporal series. So, but then what can you do concretely with the Mood platform? This is a slide you're going to see repeatedly throughout my presentation. The first aspect is you can access a large set of environmental and other covariate data. When accessing them, you know, they are actually standardized, which means that all these data are in the same format so that you can use them jointly. Every data layer in the platform can be downloaded. So if you have more expertise and you know about GIS and you want to use these data, log in, ask for a login, you can download all these data from the platform. In the platform, for people which are less proficient in using GIS, you can visualize and configure, compare, query, create, extract, etc. Some examples here. This is how it looks like. That's the platform, actually. There is a central map, and there are 2 panels, left and right. I'm not going to give you here a demo of how it works. You will see the link to the platform in other slides, so take a note of these links and play with it whenever you have time. So the right panel, you get a choice between covariates and disease data. If you look at the covariate data, that is the kind of screen you get. You have administrative layers, animal host data, demography data, environmental data, vector distribution data, infrastructures, and demo data. Anyway, if you look at the environmental data, and Marcus is going to talk more about that, this is the kind of data series we have here. We've got 2 types of data, actual data layers from a single layers, but also time series, which makes it really interesting too. I'll show you some examples. This is an example of the platform where here you can visually compare 2 data layers. On your left-hand side, you see an AVI, and on the right-hand side, you see NDVI. It's 2 ways of looking at vegetation activity from satellite-derived data. And the slider in the middle is the platform allows you to slide that from left to right, or from right to left, whatever. And this allows you a visual comparison. Simple, but can be quite interesting when you are in the exploratory stage of your data. And you can compare any of the data layers which are in the platform in such a way. Here is an example of time series. Here, this is really interesting. So here we look at a time series of night temperature. And so this time series in this example includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And you see the map on your screen, and it shows part of Belgium. And I selected the area which is the coldest part of Belgium. Now you click in the platform on that area, and now it's going to automatically calculate and create on the fly this time series, calculating the average, the minimum, maximum, and median value for that area, for that time series over that period of time. And it does that on the fly for any area in Europe you want to select. So, and you can extract that information also. I don't know what happened here. Second thing, sorry. Yes. Query and extract vector and host suitability data. I think this is a really interesting part of the platform in the sense that, and that's much of the work is done by Willy. Everybody knows Willy Wind. I mean, actually here we have a unique location where suitability models, I mean, often people refer to suitability models as risk models or risk maps. Actually, it is a probability of occurrence of a given organism. So the probability that organism will be there. It doesn't mean the organism is there, but it is very likely or unlikely that to find the organism there. We have a series of ticks. We have a series of mosquitoes. We have a series of rodents, hares, ruminants, and birds. And I mean, as far as I know, there's little examples of other places where you can find all these things together in a format which is readily usable as a covariate in whatever you want to do with it. This is an example of Ixodes business distribution, I mean, suitability model output in the Mood platform. For your information, the geographical extent of the Mood platform is Europe and surrounding areas. So actually the full geographical Europe is there, including parts of Greenland, Svalbard, I mean, how do you call these islands in the north? What? Svalbard, Norwegian part of Norway. And the UK is there too, actually, bizarrely, actually. I don't really know why we kept it. But Ireland was looking a bit silly without the UK, so. And up to North Africa, I mean, the entire Mediterranean is in it. Right. A third thing you can do with this query and extract disease risk maps and prediction model outputs. This is already also quite exciting. I mean, up till now, if somebody published a risk map, I mean, you've seen like presentations you've seen this morning, some showed risk model outputs for a given disease. It remains for many people just a picture in a journal article, or eventually a JPEG you can copy paste and do something with. But here it becomes interactive, and you can actually query. You will be able, and you are actually able to query these outputs. If you take here Maria's ecological niche outputs for avian influenza, where here we compare on your left-hand side the risk based on wild bird species before 2020 and the risk based on domestic bird species before 2020. You can compare them, but you can also query them. You can actually look at the values and take decisions included in your report or whatever, or ask yourself, is this correct, and why would it be correct or not correct? Because then you can go one step further and you can add actual disease outbreak data. In the platform, you have at the moment access. We provide access to external disease data sources. One of them is WOA and FAO. These are the two main veterinary disease databases, and one of them is TESI from ECDC as a human disease data source. And of course, we have PADIWeb, which is the event-based disease data source. Here we show, as a basis, we show the actual risk suitability for avian influenza in wild birds in Europe. And on top, the yellow dots are the actual disease outbreaks reported through the WOA website, the WAHIS from formerly OIE. And this allows you then, you've seen, actually here in yellow you see a number, because when you zoom in, these will be further divided. These are outbreaks which are pretty close to each other. And when you zoom in, your map becomes more detailed. You will have the actual locations of each of these outbreaks. And then, of course, you could do the same with the previous example when you see, for instance, you want to see what was the temperature over the past 5 years in all these outbreaks areas, at these outbreak locations, and you can actually query that, download it, and do whatever you want with that. Here, we have been looking at, we wanted to know for each of these outbreaks, what was the monthly precipitation average, the average monthly precipitation, the average daytime temperature, and the average vegetation index. These are all data which are in the platform, and it's actually extracting that information on the fly, producing it as a CSV file. You can download the CSV file, import it in Excel, and start making graphs or whatever you want to do with it. Another example, and there's going to be a talk tomorrow also about this, tick-borne encephalitis. This is already, tick-borne, I think it's the example, this is available for TBE and for West Nile. We actually, where it is possible to look at, there they made an effort, I'm not gonna give too much detail, they made an effort of predicting, or actually modeling the risk, the suitability of TBE every year. You see there's a long list. I am not even trying to use this to point on my screen. And on your right-hand side, you see all these different data layers predicting or actually modeling the TBE suitability per municipality or per region for all these years. And then they did an extensive literature review where you can actually query what were the covariates actually involved. But she will tell you more about that tomorrow. And then, of course, there are some additional tools. I very quickly go through this. GeoNetwork, I already mentioned it. This is actually a huge database where all these data are there. This is more for advanced use. It provides also very detailed metadata. Every data layer is commented and provided with metadata. So it is very important to actually read these metadata so that you learn about the limitations of this kind of data. There is PaddyWeb. I don't think is there a separate presentation about PaddyWeb in this conference? So PaddyWeb is a really interesting tool, exciting tool. Elena was very much involved in the early days of developing this. CIRAD, it's a real CIRAD baby, but it allows to actually look at events which are not necessarily published in scientific literature, but which can be very complementary for many epidemiological analysis, and to import them into the platform so that you can do further work and combined with covariates on this kind of data. So what makes this different? I think it's I'm close to concluding. Well, it's an independent platform. We don't think there's going to be the platform. There's going to be many more platforms in 5 years' time. But what we want to offer is an independent platform that enables to link information coming from different sources and do things with it. And I'm pretty sure that there's many ways to get to the same results. And so it's like using software where when you're a bit an advanced software user, you start having preferences. For doing this, I'm using that software. For doing that, I'm doing this, etc. Well, that's a bit the goal of our platform, is to get you into the cycle. And it's up to you to decide if you use this platform or other platforms. But one platform is not going to be enough to achieve your objectives. So by the way, we have been submitting a cost action to actually do that, to map we call that the ecosystem of epidemiological platforms in Europe. Open access, yes, for non-commercial use. So we chose the option to make it completely open. We stay in charge of developing it, but it is open for use by anybody else. Single point of contact, where all these covariates come together. Flexible disease data import. Very importantly, you can import data from any external source, and you can also use your data in the platform but without a risk of it being public, in the sense that when you work with a platform, it's working on your laptop, and when you use your data in the platform context, these data remain on your laptop. They're not uploaded somewhere and disappear. They cannot be seen or used by anybody else. If you decide to share your data with the platform, contact us and we will include them in the platform. But until that, you can work with your data in the platform on a completely private basis. And it is very user-friendly. So please get a login. It is requested so that it's not anybody getting in. You get it almost automatically. We never refuse anybody. Try it and kindly share your mood experience with us, for better or for worse. If you've got criticism, please do try to be constructive. We're quite sensitive people, and as you are, I suppose. And thank you very much for your questions. This is the link to the platform. At the moment, it's a bit complicated, but well, I'll leave it on the screen for 5 more seconds. Thank you.